Good evening. The program of choices comes to you from the beautiful city of Georgetown, Guyana. We thank God for this beautiful country of ours, its citizens, hard-working citizens, and we are grateful that we can come to you this evening as we discuss some critical matters that we're dealing with in life and living generally. We want to thank God for those ardent viewers from the diaspora who view us week after week and share your comments to us. We are grateful. And we are determined to work together as we continue to bring the influence of God in our world. Today, we want to discuss a very important topic as we deal with how do you survive in a hostile environment. You know, we live every day not only experiencing successes or triumphs, but we also experience failures. We experience trials, dilemmas. How do we deal with overcoming these situations? And so today, we just do not want to discuss these issues. We don't want to see the signs of need, but we also want to bring hope. We want to discuss how do we overcome. And so join us with your families, your friends, and let us discuss. Whatever time zone you are viewing us from, we say welcome and God bless you.
You know, life is filled with contests and the conflicts. And we are grateful that there is a transcendent God, a God who rules in the affairs of men. So even though he is above, he is also with us. And so God has certain characteristics that no one else has. You know, he's omnipotent, he's all powerful, omniscient, he knows everything, and he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. And we heard that we live in a time when there are lots of problems, if you want to say that, social problems, contemporary problems. But in the midst of all of that, there is still hope, as we've heard, because the God we serve, he brings hope. Remember, we had a big situation where all of us should have died, but hope came in the man Christ Jesus. The world should have been done and dusted, rubbed out, but God sent his son Jesus, who brought hope and the liberty to mankind. And Philippians 1:6 says, he who began a good work is able to complete it. So notwithstanding what we are going through now, there's a God who started a good work. And this God is able to complete what he started. I think the big issue is now is for us to be compliant with him and what he would like for us, and how we should operate with respect to our conduct, with respect to our behavior, and so on. You know, and I'm hearing Professor Lumumba in my head. He's saying that we have all been given an opportunity to serve, not because we're the best thing around, and that thing touched me, because sometimes you feel, you know why I'm here? Because I'm the best. But he said it's an opportunity. We call you distinguished, we call you honorable, because we expect you to do honorable and distinguished work. You know, it's amazing how he puts it. And so we have to now find ways and means to mitigate or to survive in an environment that is hostile, and still knowing that there's a God who is able to help us. And I think some years ago, Bishop bought some books for us. Many of us, we were, you know, in a beginning stage. And there's a book done here by T.D. Jakes. It's titled The 10 Commandments of Working in a Hostile Environment. So environments, will be hostile. Some you might find peace, and then there are other environments where you'll have hostility. How do you survive in that? And one of the things that he said is that we should not let the environment get inside of us. Because when the environment becomes a part of you, you become just like the environment in terms of the hostility. So it is for us now to tap in to God so we could have peace and calm in the environment. Sometimes the environment could irritate you. When you go to Facebook, for example, and you see what people write sometimes about you personally, some people are tempted to hit back right there and join the hostility. So sometimes when you look, you just remember that there's a transcendent God who's capable of delivering and vindicating. Vindicating. Sometimes we try to vindicate ourselves, but God vindicates us. And so we want to discuss, how we could actually survive in an environment in the midst of hostility, how we could survive. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. I have been stimulated by your introductory comments, especially on the theme of surviving or doing more than just surviving, living, and doing more than just living with a purpose. Clearly, you have described how difficult it is. And as you spoke, I saw I saw the concept of how ships sailing on a sea or on water, how they need to ensure that the water remains on the outside. For when the water gets on the inside, the ship is no more. And it tells me that there is a necessity to allow, while we need the environment to do all that we are called to do not allow the environment to swallow us up or to get on the inside. And that is a deliberate attempt. It is a strong personal decision that is necessary to ensure that we not just survive, but we live. And hence, I want to encourage all of us at the very outset to set your mind towards ensuring that I will live and not die so that I can fulfill the purposes of God.
The toxicity in our environment, we have to ensure that we keep it out. Poison, we have to keep that out of our system. I like the analogy you just used, Rev, that a ship sailing needs that water to sail, to move from point A to point B, to point C, to point Z. But that water, while it produces an opportunity for travel, can become an enemy if it gets inside. Our means of communication, as we seek to communicate with each other, can become corrupted if we have that kind of the environment, the issues, the toxicity of the environment to get inside of us. You argue with people who love you, who you love. You fight with people who feed you. You become disagreeable, and you become a person with so much potential. You're vexed every day. You're increasing the level of your stress. And because we impact people within our sphere of influence, you can poison them also. I grew up in a village where we could pick neighbors' fruits, mango, guava, tamarind, whatever fruit, banana. We used to do a lot of bush cook, and we had a police sergeant named Sergeant Barry, and he developed his entire backyard where he did greens. I don't know how Sergeant Barry found time to do that, but we could look over in his backyard. He had okra, boro, balange. He had limes. He had every conceivable thing needed for a bush cook. So as boys in the village, we visited Sergeant Barry's backyard without his permission many times. And I'm saying that we were boys in the village doing that. And I'm sure most villagers, people who live in village, have visited without invitation their neighbor's backyard or front yard, wherever those things are. But now people brandish cutlass, people brandish weapons to deal with these pranks that little boys do all around the world. Yes. The thing about it is, if the environment becomes poisonous, God help us, if we allow that poison to get inside of us, and we will implode. I was reading early this morning about that submersible that went down to view the Titanic. And there are all kinds of the final result is not out, but people are writing what happened. And that is a tragedy. They were using the water, but the pressure outside there, I'm a layman, I don't understand these things, but it imploded. Why? The end result is death. And even as we think about this, there are lots of you who don't share our view of religion, but you serve in the public domain, and you understand that development comes with sacrifices and pain. You understand that. And it can be derailed. People who lack patience end up arguing with everybody. Development, while it is necessary, it must come with respect. We must respect each other as humans. And we must avoid that road of arrogance as we roll out development. We can learn so much from all around us. So please, I like T.D. Jakes' comment. Keep the environment, that toxic environment, out of your life. You'll be able to negotiate and live life.
That is so true, Bishop. And one of the things we have to do is we have to show people a better way. And by bringing hope, we have to let people know that there is hope. And I believe one of the ways we can do that is by sharing our personal stories. Human beings are action-oriented. They want to know what could be done. And sometimes we have to hazard our lives, our experiences, the sacrifices that we have made. Let people know that where we're at today, it was not always like that. Some of us failed exams several times. Some of us lost our jobs. Some are even going through challenges in marriages, in finding a job, all those things. We have to share with people, let them know that this thing is possible. Do not allow the environment to become a part of you. You know, it is said that we cannot influence what we avoid. And so it is important for us not just to see the problem, but we must see the solution. We must be able to bring to bear, bring to influence what we know, what we have gone through, and people can be inspired by our lives. People can be inspired by our stories and will say, yes, this man is for real. And if God, the God who's above the sun, he said, he's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. He's able to do. We like to see action. God, the God who's above the sun, is actively involved in our daily lives. And oh, how we need to tap into him. and bring to bear the solutions that is so needed in our world today. So don't be discouraged, don't give up, but allow those challenges to propel you to your destination, to be a wind, sort of, to push you into your purpose and into overcoming some of these current realities that you're facing. And you can look back thereafter and encourage somebody and say, well, yes, I went through this. And if I have gone through it, you also can come through. What a blessing we are. It can be.
No, Dr. Paul, the danger as outlined in this principle of not allowing the environment to get inside of you. I think of scripture, you know, and the word of God tells us that it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of him. But the truth be told, when the environment that is so toxic gets inside of you, it poisons you. And so it is responsible for what will come out from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. And so we find that every day people are exposed in the home, in the community, at the workplace, to toxic environment. And we are saying today, if we safeguard ourselves against those environments by not allowing those toxic to get inside us, we will be able to be more effective in the way we operate. I personally believe that all environment contribute to our growth and development. But when we allow it to take a hold of us and to so take control of our inner being, we can become better ourselves and we can become rebellious to systems. And in doing that, we might be leading others in rebellion also. So we have to be mindful of the environment. One of the things, you know, scripture tells us that the children of Issachar, they were, you know, they had an understanding of the times. And if we have an understanding of what is happening around us, I think we will be better prepared to respond accordingly to what is happening around us.
Program, we have at least two sociologists, and they can deepen what I'm about to say. As we interact with our environment, sometimes we believe it might be better. For me, sometimes I feel it would be better to have an environment of stones. As stones don't talk back, stones don't react, they are just there. But our environment and interaction is with people. Let us take, for example, we live in a home.
And people can use stones.
People can use stones. So we are conscious of that. And because of that kind of environment, people are people. You and I have to make that deliberate attempt not to allow the toxic or the toxicity to get in on the inside. You have the children, for example, and you give a strong instruction, and then they respond, say things that you may not anticipate them saying. You could react, or a child, mommy said something that you really didn't like. You could react. You have to make that deliberate attempt. That's the point I'm making.
Thank you very much, Rev, for that. You know, I'm thinking, Bishop, I don't know if you remember, years ago, we had a leaders retreat, and the theme of the leaders retreat was transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. And I'm listening to the discussion and I'm thinking, you know, we don't only have a responsibility to not allow the environment to get into us, but because of who we are, by the nature of who we are, we have a responsibility as well to help to treat the environment, because not everyone is able to withstand the toxicity as we speak. You know, God has enabled us and you're hearing from all around the world has enabled us to come to a point where we can withstand, we can keep the foolishness out. But what about us now going back by the grace of God, not in our own strength, of course, and helping to treat the environment? I'm thinking about Daniel as we look, for a scriptural base and a character that really followed through with this concept. He was able to withstand the pressure of a toxic environment, and at the same time, as a result of who he was able to bring to bear his considerable influence and help to change the status quo, help to change the structure. Obviously, it's not something that happens, right away, but with diligence and with serious intentionality, I believe our responsibility can move from us protecting ourselves, not just us protecting ourselves, but helping to treat the environment so that we can see change and so that we can all continue to, live a productive life.
I was looking at Nehemiah with the change with the enemy inside and not the enemy outside, with with Tobias and his next partner. If that kind of toxins get inside of us, it's hard to come out. We have to really drink a lot of water to get that out. You have to fight. You have to fight. That's why we don't go down to UNO. And he heard about it, and he just decided to stay safe. Everything will be okay.
Excellent.
Stay safe.
In a toxic environment, it's incredibly important to realize that we're also a part of a community. So as you take a position, if you decide that, this is an environment that I have to stay and survive. It's not a situation where I could escape or a situation where I could remove myself from. If it's a situation that you have to stay in, sometimes you have to realize that some of the persons that are on the journey with you have to be protected. So as you seek your own refuge within that toxic environment, as you fortify your own space, don't position yourself to such a fortified place where you're insulated from everyone. Always remember that in order for you to survive and thrive again, like after the environment changes, you'll have to be able to reestablish your community. So keep an eye on the people around you, keep an eye on the persons who are part of your community, and realize that it's possible to grow, it's possible to thrive, and sometimes you're the person that has to be there to watch out and to protect and to cover down, as I believe the military people would say.
I was going to ask Dr. Lee if there is another strategy that we could utilize in terms of surviving.
Well, I think the premise that he used to discuss the 10 commandments working in a toxic, difficult environment, he mentioned the fact that half or probably more than half of our waking life we spend on the job. And because of that, we take something to that environment. And the point he made also is that how do we work with difficult people? And he did suggest that a considerable amount of time has to be spent to understand those who we are in relationship with, particularly on the job, to understand them, and particularly those of us who are in leadership position, how we can best understand them, spend some time showing them, because sometimes we find people who come from very toxic environment, they only see the negative. And so you have to spend quite a lot of time to get them to understand and to see that there is a better way and that there is hope if they can only align themselves to a different perspective concerning life. And so what I'm saying here is that in the toxic environment, we can find people if we spend some time seeking them out and showing them that there's a better way and there is hope and there is purpose in their lives. Because sometimes people feel that, there's no hope for them, there's no place in society, but we have to spend time teaching and training them and bringing them around.
one of the greatest leader, if not the greatest leader the world has seen. A public accountant wrote this about him in Matthew chapter 5. He said to the people that he influenced and led, and by extension to you, he said, you are the salt of the earth. Matthew 5:13-16. You are the salt. So we can't avoid the environment. There are people who all they can do is criticize the environment, just thus adding bitterness, adding anger, adding fuel in the fire then. But he challenged his disciples that we are not part of the problem. We are the solution. And we must go into the environment and be salt and light in that environment. We must also be careful that we do not become corrupted by the environment, that we do not become a part of the problem. And so whoever you are, your position might be the most senior position, not only in a company, but in a region. Your position might be a critical one, dealing with children that you don't even know, because you hold a position of authority. You may have political responsibility. You may have religious responsibility. You may have social responsibility, responsibility on the field of sports. You're taking your entire delegation from your country to a foreign land. Don't bring back a report about who did what, blah, 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 blah. Bring back a report that says we were able to make a change. We brought a positive influence to a very bad situation. As we attempt to negotiate environments that are very toxic, be salt, be light, preserve what is good, defend what is good, ensure that the structures and the systems are not overcome. And as we said at the beginning, the pain that you could experience in development, those who are salt as leaders will project hope. It will not always be like this. There's not only light at the end of the tunnel, but the light is here. From the set of choices, God bless you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.